Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash Season 2 bonus video. I'm going to be talking all about Hunter Zolomon, so just careful for spoilers if you're not caught up on the Flash Season 2 yet. There is a new round of the giveaway too. It's a $20 Amazon gift card. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. So the big WTF is that it was revealed by the showrunners that Zoom is Hunter Zolomon on the Flash TV show. Now that's really just the beginning because we have to talk about what Zoom's plan is on the TV show and how that differs from the comic books, because the TV show collects from all eras of the comics and we haven't really seen the Hunter Zolomon character in the comics since Flash Rebirth. Like the very end of that, we see him talking to Professor Zoom. They're locked up in Iron Heights together and he says, "I have a plan, we can make each other better." In the comics, that's Zoom's whole mantra. Now essentially, he was the reverse Flash of the Wally West era, so he was like Wally West's greatest enemy, just like Professor Zoom Eobard Thawne was Barry Allen's greatest enemy. So let's just start with a TV show explainer for Hunter Zolomon. We already know quite a bit about him. We don't know about his motivation, but we know about his backstory. We know that he comes from Earth 2 because that's where Zoom surfaced, but at the end of episode 7, I think it was earlier this season on the Flash Season 2, Jay Garrick points to Hunter Zolomon in a park and says, "This is the reason why you couldn't find my Earth 1 doppelganger, because his name isn't Jay Garrick, his name is Hunter Zolomon." We know now, based on what the showrunners have told us, that Jay Garrick has been deceiving Team Flash this whole time, and it's been part of Zoom's plan. The showrunners explained that Jay Garrick inserted himself in Team Flash, in specific roles relative to each character, like a love interest for Caitlin, a mentor figure for Barry, because Zoom had been watching them ever since the wormholes between Earth 1 and Earth 2 opened at the end of Season 1 for about 6 months and saw what they needed most, like the things that they desired most. So whatever his relationship with this version of Jay Garrick, the one that he just killed and dumped on the floor, two really important questions that have not been answered yet. One, if Hunter Zolomon here is masquerading as Earth 1 Jay Garrick, where is the real Earth 1 Jay Garrick? That's kind of why I think he might be the man in the Iron Mask. But number two, big question, why does he want Barry's speed so much? Why does he want to be the fastest? What is he going to use that speed for? It's not like he's Scrooge McDuck and he's just going to have a vault where he's going to swim around in Speed Force all day, like just diving into his money. If there's anything the TV show does, it's develop complex characters, so there is something behind Zoom's desire to get super fast. Now in the comics, Hunter Zolomon became the Zoom character because his body was broken in this big gorilla attack, but Wally West refused to change the past to fix his spine. So Hunter Zolomon, who was a police officer, kind of like Eddie, went to the cosmic treadmill, tried to use it to fix himself, got in an accident, and that's what gave him his powers. Now in the comics, he doesn't technically use the Speed Force the same way Barry does. He can control time in a more tactile way. So visibly, his powers look like the Flash's powers, but the way they travel in time is just a little bit different. Zoom does that naturally. The Flash has to run really fast to go backwards and forwards in time. The TV show hasn't really explained the nature of Zoom's powers, why it is that he has blue lightning, and if his powers work exactly the same as Barry Allen's. I think for the sake of simplicity, his powers are very similar to Barry Allen's, but there's some twists where he's not able to naturally take Barry's speed. He needs Harrison Wells to siphon the Speed Force off, and then he injects it into himself like heroin. So already the TV show is way off comic book in terms of Hunter Zolomon Zoom. They've incorporated some things from the Jay Garrick era, like the Velocity 9 formula. That was something created by the Reverse Flash of the Jay Garrick era. His name was Edward Claris. He was just called the Rival. In a rare moment of honesty on the TV show, Jay Garrick owned up to Caitlin about how he lost his speed. It was the formula that caused me to lose it. It didn't work right, it damaged my cells, and I lost my speed. But he did take credit for creating the Velocity formula. He took it to 6, Team Flash took it to 9. So there are a lot of theories as to what the relationship between Earth 2 Jay Garrick and Earth 2 Hunter Zolomon are. Zoom could be a TV show version of Cobalt Blue. In the comics, Cobalt Blue is named Malcolm Thawne. He's a long-lost twin of Barry Allen that was taken by birth after one of the Thawnes and raised as a Thawne. His childhood was terrible. His parents were con artists. He had your typical villain upbringing where he was mistreated and abused as a child. So he grew up, gained Speed Force powers through the use of a talisman that gave him blue lightning, and sought to take Barry Allen's life for his own. As in, this was the life I was meant to have. You took everything that belongs to me. The problem with that on the TV show is the motivation. Now, Zoom could very well be a twin of Jay Garrick's from Earth 2, like a long-lost twin from birth. But at the end of episode 15, when Zoom dumps Jay Garrick's body on the ground and says, This is a complication. He seems weirdly calm about it, like, oh, this is just a roadblock in my plan. He doesn't have that insane look in his eye like Eobard Thawne always does. So yes, he still does want to take all of Barry's speed, but maybe he has a plan to save someone or something, or himself, or Earth 2 in general, and he needs Barry's speed to accomplish that. Way back before the season started, when we first saw the Blue Flash, I did a video about who is the Blue Flash, because there's a Blue Flash from the New 52 comics, but it winds up being Barry Allen from the future who wants to save the past and feels like the only way he can do that is to kill himself in the past. So right now I'm kind of split as to what's going on with Zoom. One, he's an actual physical twin of Jay Garrick, like a long-lost twin, Cobalt Blue style. Two, he's Jay Garrick from the future, like a post-apocalyptic Earth 2 future. He feels like the only way to save the future is to change the past, and he needs to take someone else's speed so that he can move fast enough to right whatever wrong there is. The only things we know about Hunter Zolomon is that he looks exactly like Jay Garrick, and he appeared within hours of the Earth 2 particle accelerator explosion. So really the origin of Zoom on the TV show just depends on how complicated you think his backstory is. They did say that the answer would be satisfying, it would be meaningful, and it would have something to do with the man in the iron mask. So because so much of Barry's fight with Eobard Thawne involves time travel, I feel like time travel doesn't have a lot to do with Jay Garrick and Zoom's story from Earth 2. Remember the story Harrison Wells told about how Zoom got his name? He lured a bunch of police officers into a trap, killed them all except for one, so that the one would go and tell everyone that Zoom was unbeatable and there was nothing they could do to stop him. That feels vicious and vindictive, as if Zoom is trying to punish people for a specific reason. That seems more like Cobalt Blue from the comics, and less like Hunter Zolomon from the comics. Hunter Zolomon had a noble goal, like he's like, I'm gonna make the Flash better, but I have to cause him to feel very specific tragedy. Comic book Zoom's idea of tragedy is like this calculated use to make heroes better. Zoom on the TV show doesn't seem like he cares about that. So right now for Zoom, I'm thinking Cobalt Blue with a Hunter Zolomon name. You know, like a long-lost twin who's trying to punish everyone for the shitty upbringing that he had. Now, Jay Garrick, when he was telling Caitlin about Hunter Zolomon, when he was still lying to Caitlin about his doppelganger, I think he was honest about one thing, that he was adopted by Zolomons as a child and raised by them. That's why he has their name. That's why he doesn't have the Garrick name. I think that part of the explainer was honest. Everything else was a lie. Hunter Zolomon here, really from Earth 2. So the next big question, if Jay Garrick and Hunter Zolomon are both from Earth 2, does that mean that there's still a Jay Garrick and Hunter Zolomon from Earth 1? The way the TV show's explained it so far is that everyone does have a doppelganger, it's just that some of them have died. So you can still see it's pretty complicated. A lot of it depends on the true origin of Zoom on the TV show, and they did say they would continue to tease that out, but it's going to take the rest of the season to find out who's underneath that metal mask. We are into some serious primer shit on The Flash Season 2 right now. I really love it when things get complicated, but I don't think it's as complicated as we think it is. I think the TV show explainer will be a little bit more elegant in its simplicity. And the one other thing that we haven't really gotten back to is the alternate version of Barry telling Barry from Season 1 not to save his mother. Well, let me know in the comments, who do you think Earth 2 Hunter Zolomon is? Do you think that he's a physical twin, Cobalt Blue style, or do you think it's a more complicated explanation? But I know a lot of you have been asking me about Supergirl. There was a Legion ring. We saw a Legion ring and Supergirl when Team Flash traveled through the wormhole to go to Earth 2. Does that mean that the Legion ring that we saw on The Flash is the Legion ring that we saw on Supergirl? I will say probably. And no, I don't think the Legion ring is going to be the way Barry gets to Supergirl's Earth. I think they'll find a way to reopen a portal to Earth 2 because they have to find a way to defeat Zoom. They can't do that if they can't physically get to him. So eventually they'll find a way back to Earth 2 to reopen a portal, and that will also be the way that they get to Supergirl's Earth. Now, the interesting thing about the Supergirl episode, the big crossover episode, is that it's going to be Supergirl episode 18. That's not that far away. So that makes me think that Team Flash is going to find a way to reopen a portal to Earth 2 in the next couple of episodes. Most of you recognize Supergirl from Smallville playing the Indigo character. In the comics, she was created by Brainiac 6 to go back in time and kill Donna Troy. Within her was buried a version of the Brainiac 8 program that then took over her consciousness, and she kind of became Brainiac 8. So she is a version of Brainiac. So I think that eventually they might be able to do Brainiac on the TV show. It's always a question as to what the TV show is allowed to do, because I feel like Brainiac is a big enough villain to appear in the movies, and usually they don't let movie villains appear on the TV shows. And I know a lot of you have been asking for Supergirl and Gotham videos. What I'm probably going to do with those going forward is just do those on Facebook. So I'll put a link in the description. It's just facebook.com/emergencyawesome. While you guys wait for my next video to post, you can click here to learn how some of Batman v Superman got banned internationally. It's a ridiculous story. And you can click here for my Gotham Mr. Freeze video. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.